If you live in an American community of any size, you probably know what to do in a medical emergency. You call 911.
The dispatcher sits at the center of these million-dollar EMS systems and makes critical decisions regarding who goes, how they go, when they go, how many of them go, and yet the dispatcher in most places has had a little more education than a layperson. In California, the minimum standard is 40 hours. You know, that's less medical training than a hairdresser gets.
More than half of all teenagers today have had intercourse by the time they are 17, and only a third of those use contraception. Each year, more than 100,000 teenage girls under 17 have babies. Lenny Roseman believes that she can make a difference in the lives of these kids. In fact, she's been so successful at it that she's considered the role model for sex education teachers in the New York City school system.
Anya, we missed you.
No matter how bright your parents or your teachers thought you were, the Academy assumes you're an idiot.
Mister, step up my line, Toastmaster my line, without all my line. Move! Nuclear, where's your name tag?
Hey, you! I'm not wearing it, sir.
I'm not wearing it, sir. Is that one of your 4 proper responses?
No, sir.
What are your 4 responses, Nuclear?
Sir, my 4 responses...
Not quick enough.
Sir, my 4 responses are yes, sir, no, sir, no excuse, sir, and sir, I do not understand.
One more time, Nuclear.
Sir, my 4 responses are yes, sir, no, sir, no excuse, sir, and sir, I do not understand.
I'm Mike Wallace.
I'm Morley Safer.
I'm Harry Reasoner.
I'm Ed Bradley.
I'm Diane Sawyer. Those stories and Andy Rooney tonight on 60 Minutes.
Whoever said the first impression is the only one that counts never owned an Acura Legend sedan. Because while the Legend may look good on the showroom floor, it won't truly shine until the odometer has lost a few zeros. Which may explain why, for the second year in a row, the owners of Acura automobiles voted them the most satisfying cars on the road. And that may be the best impression of all. A lasting one.
When my minor arthritis pain acts up, even little things are a big effort. But I don't take aspirin anymore. I take Advil. Advil gives me hours of relief from arthritis pain, and it's gentler to my stomach than aspirin. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Static Cling can make you feel like this. What's your solution? Static Guard. Static Guard eliminates static cling instantly, completely. Get Static Guard. It's your best solution for static cling.
If you live in an American community of any size, you probably know what to do in a medical emergency. You call 911. That's the number where you know you'll get expert helpers to the scene in a hurry. You'll talk to a trained dispatcher, someone who can identify the problem and get the right assistance on the way and tell you what to do till it gets there. In better than half the nation's communities, the fire department handles these calls with specially trained personnel answering the phone. But are they properly trained? Is it possible that sometimes you might be worse off calling 911 than if you did not call 911? Some experts think it's all too possible. Take the case of the Lamb family in Los Angeles and the terrible morning they had the day after Christmas last year. Sidney Lamb was at home with his wife, Sephora, and his 2 children, David and Mandy. On a Saturday morning, December 26, 1987, Mrs. Lamb was in the bedroom when Sidney heard his son, David, call out to him.
She was in a lot of pain. And I knew, and I called the paramedics, and I said, my mom isn't feeling well, I need a paramedic. And I described the symptoms as best I could, like what she told me.
Fire department. I need a paramedic, please. What's the problem there, sir? My mom is experiencing pain in her back and her stomach. Her hands are tingling.
What happened? What was she doing right before this happened?
What are you doing right before this happened, Mom?
Is she anxious about something?
She's just laying in bed.
She's just laying in bed?
Were you anxious about anything, Mom?
Sounds like she might be hyperventilating, sir.
Yeah. Does that require a paramedic?
No, not really.
I acted on what he told me because I thought he was the authority. He was calming me down, and I was being very calm because my mom needed to be calmed down. I thought she was hyperventilating. That's what he told me.
And I hear after a few seconds that they're giving him a hard time. They're not sending out an ambulance. I get on the phone, and I say, my wife's not feeling well. We need an ambulance.
I said, can you get a paramedic over here? My wife's just isn't feeling well.
out to people that aren't feeling well. Oh, okay. Well, not feeling well could be serious. Well, has vibrations in her chest, vibrations. Pardon me? Sir, did you hear what I talked to when I talked to the other person? No, I didn't. Okay. Sounds to me like she's experiencing a hyperventilation. Now, I need to talk to her to verify that.
He did request to speak to my wife directly, and we put my wife on the phone.
Ma'am. What? What's wrong with you? Why are you breathing so rapidly?
I'm not breathing, I'm having pain.
I can hear you breathing rapidly.
I'm having pain in my stomach and in my back, and my arms are all tingling.
Yes, you're hyperventilating, ma'am.
Oh, I'm having such terrible pains all over.
Your fingers, ma'am?
My hands are tingling.
Okay, let me talk to the young boy that was there.
Okay,
And he says, breathe into a brown paper bag or a paper bag for 15 minutes. My son ran out of the room to get the paper bag, I guess after the conversation ended.
You didn't argue with him?
No, we called him thinking that these people know what they're doing. He says it's hyperventilation. It's hyperventilation.
They're the authority, aren't they?
Exactly.
David and Sidney Lamb kept Mrs. Lamb breathing into a paper bag for the next 4 or 5 minutes. But when she didn't seem to get any better, Sidney Lamb called 911 again.
Yeah, my son just called a few moments ago to describe my wife's symptoms, and they said it was like hyperventilation. Yes, sir. Hello? Yes, sir. Go ahead. And now she's throwing up. Is that part of hyperventilation? Okay, is her breathing slowed down now? Her breathing has slowed down a little bit.
And the second dispatcher comes up with another gem. Oh, it might be a touch of food poisoning.
I just told you to see her doctor, or take her to the emergency room and have her be seen by the doctor. Is she, has she been seen by a doctor? No. This just happened about 5 minutes ago. Might be a touch of food poisoning.
And when he said, you can take her to the hospital if you want to, we immediately got her dressed. She was in a nightie. And she says as she's lying on the bed, I don't think I can make it to the car. She was feeling very weak. So I say, honey, why don't you try? And we picked her up. I mean, we helped her up from the side of the bed, and she leaned on both of us, my son and myself, and we took her to the car. And she made it to the car, and that's where she finally convulsed.
While Mrs. Lamb was in the car, David Lamb called 911 a third time and told the dispatcher there was a heart attack victim.
Heard a woman? Call a heart attack victim?
This time there was no diagnosis. The paramedics were sent. The dispatcher hung up.
We're on our way. Thank you.
Paramedics arrived some 7 minutes after the last call was made and got to work trying to revive Mrs. Lamb. But it was too late. A total of 29 minutes had elapsed from the time of David Lamb's first call until the ambulance arrived. She was pronounced dead at the hospital an hour later. Cause of death, heart attack.
What just keeps haunting me, and I can't get it out of my mind, is the fact that I asked him, I go, are you sure it's not a heart attack or something like that? And he goes, he's sure.
You're positive that's what it is? That's what it is. It's not anything like a heart attack, or no? Okay.
I wish he could have given me some doubt so I could have given him doubt back, but he was so authoritative and so sure of himself, I was positive that he knew exactly what he was talking about.
Fred Hurtado doesn't think the dispatchers have been trained properly. He's president of the United Paramedics of Los Angeles and a working paramedic himself.
There have been thousands of similar cases where either people have died unnecessarily or they have had their lives unnecessarily risked or jeopardized because of our department's dispatch policies.
3531 North McKenzie, Task Force 47, well handled.
If you dial 911 in the city of Los Angeles, as the Lambs did that day, the calls come in here to the dispatch center of the fire department. These men are firemen on rotating assignment, working as dispatchers and deciding how serious the problem is and what to send out. The fire department would not tell us the identity of the dispatchers who spoke to the Lambs or provide us with a fire department official to answer questions on this incident. We would like to have asked them how much training their dispatchers get and whether they think that is enough.
80% of the calls that come into our fire department are not fires. They are medical emergencies. Our department last year responded to some 260,000 calls. 205,000 of them were emergency medical calls.
The person who decided whether to send, what to send, and how soon was not a paramedic.
And had virtually no medical training to do the job that he's being asked to do.
What kind of training do they get before they become dispatchers?
They are provided with essentially an indoctrination course that teaches them, in my opinion, how to make the same mistakes that their predecessors have made.
One of the places where just about everybody in the emergency medical system field agrees that the EMS system works is Salt Lake City, Utah.
How old is your wife?
20? Is she conscious at this time?
The system here trains dispatchers for a minimum of 24 hours and teaches them to use a protocol book to look up symptoms immediately when answering emergency calls. Dr. Jeff Clausen heads the Salt Lake City operation. How many people in urban America, what percentage of people have a resource like this available to them?
Urban America,
Say this is a good one. I assume it is.
I think that it's probably less than 20%. The dispatcher sits at the center of these million-dollar EMS systems and makes critical decisions regarding who goes, how they go, when they go, how many of them go, and yet the dispatcher in most places has had a little more education than a layperson, and maybe only an hour on the average.
You know, we're not talking about East Eagle Jaw, Manitoba. We're talking about one of the largest cities in the world, and with what is supposed to be an excellent fire department.
Excellent fire department.
How does this happen?
It's unfortunate that it's not just a problem with Los Angeles. It's really a national problem, an international problem. And the larger cities have more difficulty because of the politics to get systems like this in place. It's unfortunate, though, because a lot of the things that we're talking about have nothing to do with significant outlay of funds. They have to do with a brief training course. In California, the minimum standard is 40 hours. You know, that's less medical training than a hairdresser gets.
But even if the dispatcher were trained properly, could part of what went wrong be the fault of the Lamb family? That they weren't strong enough or clear enough on the telephone?
It's gone through my mind over and over again.
Impossible. That's not possible.
My attorney and my doctor both assured me and David, you did everything you were capable of doing. I sit up nights wondering, could I have been a little bit stronger? Could I have yelled at the son of a bitch and said, what do you mean? I'm not listening to you. You're not listening to me. Sure, those thoughts go through my mind. Is there anything more I could have done?
Okay.
And I don't know. I'm sure there are, but at the time I was totally ignorant. I believe now, logically, rationally, that we did the best we could.
I don't think we can expect people in crisis to be offering up the right information. Anytime a caller is calling you, that call becomes your responsibility now. And you, if you don't know what the answers to the questions were initially or what problem you're dealing with, need to find that out.
One of the things the dispatcher instructed the family to do was to have Mrs. Lamb breathe in and out of a paper bag.
She has to breathe in and out into a paper sack. All right, let the breathe out of the bag then. Cover her nose and mouth. Cover her nose and mouth with it. With the bag, have her close her eyes and relax. Would you? Right? Okay. Have her do it. She has to do that for 15 minutes. You're positive that's what it is? That's what it is.
The first time the lady called, she was told, put a bag over her nose and mouth and have her breathe in and out of it for at least 15 minutes. That is the worst advice that she could possibly have gotten.
The breathing in a paper bag, as I just told us, a group of dispatchers in San Joaquin last week, is considered to be dispatch malpractice. You don't have people breathe in paper bags. There have been even court cases in other places that have involved similar situations like this, where it's been determined that you don't offer that kind of call rate. That is not medically approved. It's not acceptable.
But could Mrs. Lamb's symptoms have misled the dispatcher? Mrs. Lamb was complaining of pains in her stomach and back.
I'm having pain in my stomach and in my back, and my arms are all tingling.
Yes, you're hyperventilating, ma'am.
Oh, I'm having such terrible pains all over.
These are not the classic chest pains associated with heart attack. But even with just stomach pain, the protocol manual would indicate that with abdominal pain in a woman over 15 years of age, send out an ambulance.
Think about it. The dispatcher probably only has one other equivalent in terms of an occupation that's found nationally, and that's the air traffic controller. And yet the dispatchers are certainly not trained to that level. They're certainly not paid to that level, and they're not managed to that level. They're the air traffic controllers of the ground. I mean, they're dealing with emergencies, you know, that are the equivalents of planes going down every single day and giving pre-arrival instructions to help remedy the problem before, you know, the victim in essence crashes. But the dispatchers have been seen as being low-level professionals. In essence, clerks. If you could breathe, chew gum, and answer the phone, you could be a dispatcher.
I knew that there was something seriously wrong when she asked for that paramedic. I have no doubt in my mind. Otherwise, I would have called the doctor, or I would have taken her to the hospital, or we would have taken her to the hospital.
But you called 911 because it's inbred from the time I was a kid. 911 is the number you call for emergencies. Medical emergencies, fire emergencies, police emergencies.
You have this false sense of security out there because you think you call them and you have a problem and they're going to come, and they don't. And because they didn't come, my mom's dead.
Since this story was taped, the Los Angeles Fire Department has hired Dr. Jeff Clausen to overhaul their emergency medical system and develop a new program.
Mazda's got a brand new vehicle that's as unique and special and friendly as the family dog. It's the all-new Mazda MPV. It carries 7 like a wagon, it's versatile like a van, and with its responsive V6, it performs like a Mazda. If Mazda's MPV sounds like something that's never been before, you're right. About the only thing it won't do is get your paper in the morning. The all-new Mazda MPV. Family transportation. The Mazda way.
That's him. It's just noon their time.
Yes, sir. Listen carefully. If we don't make 500 cases of the bumper by Monday, we'll lose their account. I'll call back later.
So?
He said if we don't make 500 cases of the bumpers by Monday, we'll lose our account.
This won't happen if you use our free phone card. For fiber optic long distance that sounds the best and costs less, call US Sprint now.
Here's why these members of the United States ski team prefer Alka-Seltzer Plus cold medicine.
I came down with some mean cold symptoms. I was congested, I was tired, I couldn't breathe through my nose. I took Alka-Seltzer Plus and it helped to remove those cold symptoms.
I've got a number of guys that are depending on me, and I have to be out there the next day. And Alka-Seltzer Plus really helps me do that.
Alka-Seltzer Plus cold medicine. Fast, effective relief for tough winter colds. Try Alka-Seltzer Plus nighttime cold medicine to relieve your cold at night.
Tonight,
You need to be home.
a ghost from the past pulls a family together. Lee Remick and Angela Lansbury, The Gift of Love, A Christmas Story, tonight. Remember your first time?
Are you sure this is what you want?
That feeling you'll never forget? Relive it with a special 1-hour Dirty Dancing. Then, Emilio, Rob, Andrew, Demi, Judd, Allie, St. Elmo's Fire, Tuesday.
Occasionally in our lives, if we're lucky, we run across a teacher we can never forget, a teacher who made a real difference in our lives. By all accounts, Lenny Roseman is that kind of teacher, and she's teaching a course that everybody wants to take.
Okay. 6.
Intercourse.
Boy, baby, penis, excitement, vagina.
Her course is about that old taboo subject, and what Mrs. Roseman's kids get, in addition to a lively force in the classroom, is unvarnished, plain talk about the basics. But her objective is to convince her students that there's more to sex than just sex.
Reputation.
What makes it different? What makes your class different than any of the others?
I make sex and sexuality as broad and as realistic, as humanistic as I possibly can stretch it. And I know that there is so much more to life than just their penises and vaginas. And that's what they find out in the course.
Lenny Roseman's been teaching sex education here at Beach Channel High School in the Rockaway section of New York City for the past 14 years. She operates with a sense of mission, And when you hear the alarming statistics, you realize why. More than half of all teenagers today have had intercourse by the time they are 17, and only a third of those use contraception. Each year, more than 100,000 teenage girls under 17 have babies, and for 15% of those, it's their second or third child. About a third of teenage pregnancies end in abortion. And although you would assume that among parents, friends, and teachers, our kids today would be sexually well informed, the fact is that nearly half of all teens today haven't had any sex education at all.
Fishes, they don't have sex. They have reproduction. Their eggs flies to a female. You know, I mean, you know what I'm saying, right?
But we really want to talk about people, don't we? I mean, don't we really want to get this down to us?
Lenny Roseman believes that she can make a difference in the lives of these kids. In fact, she's been so successful at it that she's considered the role model for sex education teachers in the New York City school system.
Is that what you're saying sex is? Is that what you guys are saying sex is? You're disagreeing? Okay, hold up. We'll come back to you.
It's something natural.
What is natural? That means you grow it in gardens.
No, you grow it in yourself.
It's you grow it in yourself.
I don't know what you mean by having.
Thank you. Lucy, what does she mean?
She means like when two people combined into one.
You are absolutely right. Sex is the physical joining between two people that can sometimes result in a new life. Yeah?
We begin with ground rules, and I will tell them that they are free to say anything in this class that they want to say. Now, if a student will say something like, are we going to discuss penises? I'll say to them, what would you like to discuss about penises? And they'll say, well, it's, what is it? Do you want to know physiologically? Do you want to know anatomically? Do you want to know the functions, the purposes? I mean, what is it that you want to know? I'm here, I'll answer it.
This isn't the kind of class you want to cut. This is the thing you look forward to going to. I mean, the stuff you learned in this class wasn't like social studies where you memorize dates that you'll never use. This was stuff that's up to date, current, real life things that you're going to use and need, and that you do use and need. The day you're learning them and the day before you learn them, you need this stuff.
She taught you things that you needed to know, not just...
It wasn't just all sex.
Sex, right, and that was it. And that was the only topic of the class. She taught you a lot of other things.
Don't put yourself into a car. If you're a female, you don't get into a car with 6 guys all by yourself just because they're offering you a ride home.
Mrs. Roseman feels it's also essential that her kids get a much broader perspective on life, that they learn how to make common sense decisions about things they're going through now.
Any girl, anytime, went out on a date, came home, a problem back at the house. How did you learn to say, this is not what I want to happen to me right now?
I address him and I say, no, I don't want to do this. And if he doesn't understand, I get out of the car and I leave.
All
I
right.
call my dad and I tell him to pick me up.
Okay, what do you think about that? One of the most important things that you can get out of this class is the ability to think, to reason, to know who's telling you what, not to believe everything you hear, because not everything you hear is so. Well, the kids on the street say, or if you want to get rid of pimples, oh my goodness, are they still saying that you should have sex to get rid of pimples? Let's talk about what pimples are. And we talk about hormones. That's why you have pimples. Let me tell you about your hormones.
At least one of the lessons she teaches is a bonus, the example of a good marriage. Lenny and her husband, Saul Roseman, have been married for 17 years, the second marriage for both. Between them, they have 5 grown children. He's a dean at the high school. When they can manage it, the Rosemans try to get away and have lunch on the boardwalk just a few blocks from the school.
Do you see a difference in the kids today and the kids 10 years ago?
Yes, I do. I think they are bringing more myths, more misconceptions. Maybe it's the soaps. I don't know what it is.
You would think that there would be more information available today than 10 years ago.
But there isn't. See, there's more what I call exploitation. But there is not more information for them at all.
Out in the street, they feel like if you have a boyfriend and girlfriend, they feel like if you don't have sex, then a relationship is not worth anything. You know, but Ms. Roseman taught us that there's other ways of, you know, showing your affection for a person besides sex.
You go to a math class, you learn how to
add and subtract and multiply and divide. You go to an English class, you learn how to read and spell and write. You come to this class, what do you learn how to do?
You know how to deal with yourself and what's going on with you and your friends.
And to deal with the outside world.
Give me an example. How you say you learn how to deal with yourself.
Okay. When she says, like, about your values, like, most of us didn't really know what our values were and everything. This class helps me get a sense of what my morals and values are, because some people, they really don't know what a moral is or what your values are. Because, like, your morals and your values make up your personality and, you know, the role you play in society. And she does it in a way that you don't really, she's not going to say, oh, we're going to learn about our morals and our values. She does it.
It's like a fun way of doing it. Yeah.
How many girls here think that guys have to act tough? Why do you think so, Nestle?
Because guys supposed to act tough. Why?
Jose, did you think you had to act tough because you were a guy?
Yeah, like walking down 5'4", you have to act tough.
For teens, peer pressure has always been a big deal. Wherever she can, Mrs. Roseman tries to minimize it.
And we talk about the pressure on boys. I know. By the time you're 10 years old, when you're on a street corner, you had to have sexual intercourse with at least 45 to 75 women, right? And they laugh. And I'll say, is there pressure out there? Yes, there is pressure out there. So you lie a little. And the kids will say, oh, we lie a lot.
In addition to her classroom duties, Mrs. Roseman is the cheerleading coach. The kids say that they see her as a friend, that she knows how they feel.
Teens are teens. They all have the same needs and the same wants, and they want to zero in on these things. To be grown up, to be young adults, to be able to make decisions, to be able to feel worthwhile, to be able to feel like I'm a somebody. I'm not a nothing. I really count. I'm special to someone. These things have gone on. They haven't changed.
That was so cool. If you forget everything else this term that we learned from the beginning, what one thing will you remember?
One thing that we remember is that these are our bodies and not anyone else's, and we will not abuse them or let anyone else abuse them.
Mary, that was terrific. That was the most important thing. Okay, group 2.
We learned always remember to use condoms, which prevents STDs. Our bodies are incredible. Teenage pregnancy, babies are having babies, and what are we going to do about it? The responsibilities of taking care of babies and different types of birth control.
Isn't there an argument that if you're going to have this kind of class, that's what young kids are going to go out and do? If you have a sex education class, they're going to go out and have sex.
No, this class will give you the facts to base your decision on. I mean, there comes a point in your life where you're going to have to make a decision where you're going to do what you're going to do or you're not going to do. And I mean, having sex is one of those decisions. Isn't it best that we base those decisions on facts and not stuff that we're going to pick up off the streets?
What would you say to somebody who would say, well, maybe that's okay for the big city? Maybe that's okay for kids in New York or Chicago or Los Angeles or some other large urban area, but we don't have problems like that here. We don't need this here. What do you say?
I'd say, what kind of problems do you have? And if they said to me, we don't have any, I would say that that's very difficult for me to believe. Everybody needs to know. Everybody should know. Sex is part of life. I mean, I tell that to my students, you know, that when this course is over, you just don't give your book into the closet and say, okay, finished. I mean, this is it for life. You're going to make decisions all your life. You're going to be thinking about yourself all your life. You just don't pop it away.
Teens today seem to have more problems than ever. If they are sexually active, they have the risk of sexually transmitted diseases, things like herpes, diseases they so far have no cures for. And even though at present there are fewer than 1,000 known cases of AIDS among teens, surely if the disease keeps spreading as it is, this will be the first generation in our time to have the threat of death attached to sex.
What kind of a song is it, Chris?
No, they're just talking about, like, how you get it. They're not making fun of the disease. Like, they're, like, just, like, making fun of how you get it and everything. Like, homosexuals and everything.
Homosexuals? Uh-huh. Is that the only way people get AIDS, Chris?
No, I'm saying that's the one part of it that they're making fun of.
What about the IV drug abusers?
Yeah. The needle abuse.
What about that? The junkies. What about having sex with somebody who just experimented, you know, a couple of years ago?
You still get it.
They can still get it, yeah. They're homeschooling, catching the virus, too.
And they're not homosexual, Chris. I got a feeling like that. You really think that this is the only way that people can get AIDS. And for me, I feel like I don't want Chris walking out of this room thinking that.
No, I know that. I know that.
Oh, okay.
It's just that the song is about.
What do you want the kids to take away from your class?
Oh, a sense of how wonderful they are as individuals, how much there is in life that they can do, that having sexual intercourse is not the all wherewithal of life's existence, to be interested and to be eager to get as much as they can out of life without limiting themselves or hurting themselves, not to be self-destructive. They have choices. You have choices about being self-destructive. And to try to be the best people that they can possibly be.
Assume this is your underarm. This is the leading aerosol antiperspirant brand. When this cloud clears, I'll introduce you to a better aerosol. New Lady Speed Spray Antiperspirant. Watch. The leading aerosol sprays all over. New Lady Speed Spray has a patented formula that actually helps eliminate the aerosol cloud. Superior protection, and it puts its protection where you need it most. New Lady Speed Spray, the no cloud spray.
By Menon.
The new V8-powered Cadillac DeVille and Fleetwood, the most spacious front-drive sedans, foreign or domestic.
Cadillac style.
If you're hooked on smoking, chances are your body's hooked on nicotine. To quit, you may need your doctor's help. There are clinically tested methods that can break your nicotine addiction for life. Call your doctor.
60 Minutes, a CBS News weekly magazine, will continue.
I'm Pat Sajak. My new late-night talk show on CBS will be competing with David Letterman. Fortunately, Dave and I are old friends. He even sent me this nice little note. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the expression break a leg, not break both legs?
Make a break for the Pat Sajak Show. Premieres January 9th on CBS.
This is CBS.
Christmas is just about over.
Hey, Santa, we didn't get what we want.
Ho, ho, ho! It's not too late. Give yourself a new GMC truck. Year-end clearance now through Saturday means a new GMC truck. Van or Jimmy will make your holiday bright.
Merry Christmas!
Hey, Santa, just put it in the driveway.
Start off your new year behind the wheel of a great GMC truck. On sale this week at your Carolina GMC truck dealer.
Wayside Interiors, home of quality wicker and rattan, introduces their After Christmas bonus check. All furniture starts at 25% off, and over $70,000 worth of merchandise is 50 to 70% off. With the purchase of $250 or more, you'll receive an After Christmas bonus check. Our 90-day price guarantee promises money back plus 20% if you buy the same merchandise elsewhere for less. Great discounts plus an After Christmas bonus check at Wayside Interiors, Highway 17, Restaurant Row, Myrtle Beach.
Christmas and a Happy New Year.
It's called the Long Gray Line. Among the names who have graced that line are Robert E. Lee, Dwight Eisenhower, George Patton, Douglas MacArthur. Ever since West Point was established back in 1802, over 40,000 cadets have joined that Long Gray Line to serve as officers and gentlemen in the United States Army. To an aspiring cadet, the Military Academy offers a free college education. This year, nearly 15,000 applied. Just 1,300 were accepted. About 10% of the cadet corps are women. To supply that corps with the best and the brightest, the Academy insists on a rigorous discipline that it considers necessary to determine who is fit to lead and who is not. And as Morley Safer found out, that discipline begins the very first day.
When they arrive, they are your brighter-than-average, self-confident teenage boys and girls. Free and easy, slightly smart-ass, but decent young Americans with a will of their own. They're about to say goodbye to all that.
Relatives and guests will go one direction. Candidates will go another. Please take a few moments to say goodbye.
Going from colorful and carefree civilian to the end of that long gray line can be traumatic. No matter how bright your parents or your teachers thought you were, the academy assumes you're an idiot.
Toes on the line. Toes on. Ball in, right to left, right to left. Don't your toes on the line. It's not behind line, not in front of line or on line. Let's go. Ball in, right to left, all the way.
From day one, for one solid year, they go through a special kind of hell. It is called the fourth-class system, in which any upperclassman or woman may relentlessly chew them out for any perceived lapse in deportment, behavior, any act or manner that does not conform to the West Point way of life. Nothing physical, just a constant reminder to the cadet or plebe that he or she is but a speck of dust in the Academy's grand design.
2 ranks, new cadets. Can you count?
It's one way of finding out who can take it and who can't.
Put your bag on the ground, new cadet. Look me in the eyes, new cadet. At all times, keep your eyes on mine. You understand, new cadet? Yes, sir. You'll address all male upper-class cadets and officers as sir, and all female upper-class cadets and officers as ma'am. You'll speak only when spoken to. Is that understood? Yes, sir. Mister, step up my line, close next to my line, without on my line. Move!
Some of these specs will ultimately become generals. Some will drop out in a matter of weeks.
You'll perform all duties as directed in a military manner. New cadet, where's your name tag? Hey, you! I'm not wearing it, sir. I'm not wearing it, sir. Is that one of your 4 proper responses? No, what are your 4 responses, new cadet? Sir, my 4 responses... Not quick enough. Fast. Sir, my 4 responses are yes, sir, no, sir, no excuse, sir, and sir, I do not understand. One more time, new cadet. Sir, my 4 responses are yes, sir, no, sir, no excuse, sir, and sir, I do not understand. New cadet, where's your name tag? Sir, I have no excuse. That is not one of your 4 responses. You just told me he's a new cadet. What are your 4 responses, new cadet? Sir, my 4 responses are yes, sir. Faster. Sir, my 4 responses are yes, sir, no, sir, no excuse, sir, and sir, I do not have any. Try it again. New cadet, you having a synapse lapse? No, sir. Yes, you are. What are your 4 responses? Sir, my 4 responses are yes, sir, no, excuse, sir, and sir, I do not understand. Why do you not have a name tag? No excuse, sir. Much, much better. You know how to get to drill 1? No, sir. Move.
Permission to ask a question, sir.
Format is, sir, may I ask a question?
Sir, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Where am I supposed to go?
What are your 4 responses?
Sir, my 4 responses are yes, sir, no, sir, sir, I don't understand. There's no excuse, sir.
At no time the new cadet will use a contraction.
No excuse, sir, right? Yes, sir.
Correct? What did Cadet Stan tell you to do? Again.
He told me my 4 responses here, are holding area, yes, sir, no, sir, I do not understand.
We've already been through this line.
Sir, there's no
Why would
excuse.
you go through it the second time?
No excuse, sir.
Code line, don't step on it. Did I tell you to drop your gear yet, mister? No, sir. Drop your gear. Put your pants on top.
The cadet learns early on that every time he opens his mouth, he is at risk.
Sir, new cadet and Hewitt reports to the basic training as ordered, sir.
Is that how you've been taught to do it?
No, sir.
You're supposed to be 1 step in front of my desk. Order, arms, move. Come here, new cadet. Try again.
Sir, new cadet Ewan reports to the cadet.
Cease work. Try again.
Sir, new cadet Ewan reports to basic training as ordered, sir.
Cease work. That is the wrong format. Try it again.
Sir, new cadet Ewan reports to
cease work.
Sir, new cadet Kawamoto reports to the first.
The hazing may look capricious, even foolish at times. The Academy regards it as an important tradition. It should be pointed out that it is much less harsh today than it was even 20 years ago.
Get your other hand off my desk and put it back in the position of attention.
As we said, no physical abuse is permitted. Still, about 12% of the plebes drop out before the first year is up.
Sir, new cadet Robertson reports to the first sergeant of Company A. Cadet basic training for the first time as ordered.
Not bad, new cadet. Welcome to Alpha cadet basic training. I am the company first sergeant. As such, I'm responsible for your in-processing, orientation, and training during cadet basic training. I encourage you to keep your sense of humor, but more importantly, I encourage you to follow instructions explicitly. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
At this time, demonstrate to me your salutes under the command of present arms.
Among the first and most difficult lessons a cadet must learn is the most basic of all military functions, saluting.
Yes, sir.
What kind of salute is that?
I don't know, sir.
I don't know. Didn't I teach you 4 responses earlier today?
Yes, sir.
Was that one of them?
Yes, sir.
Where did you pull that out from?
No excuse, sir.
Why don't you try and execute a proper military salute?
Yes, sir.
Present arms. May I touch you, new cadet?
Yes, sir.
From here to here is one knife edge, straight. No cups in the hands. You got that, new cadet?
Yes, sir.
Is that too uncomfortable to do, new cadet?
Yes, sir.
Then why don't you do it?
No excuse, sir.
Order arms, new cadet. Present arms, new cadet. Get out of here, new cadet.
Yes, sir.
West Point assumes that America's future leaders need remedial training in everything.
Ready? Step. At this time, on a command, step, very step. You'll take another 30-inch step with your right foot. Ready? Step. Now, I know you all know your left foot from your right foot. I told you I wanted your left foot to strike the ground with the bass drum does. I'm not seeing that. I want to see that from now on. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Right face. Forward. March.
Get 1 pair of white gloves for each of you. You're going to need them. In about half an hour, you're going to be falling in for the parade. Get plenty of water. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Sam, you've been here for about 5 hours, so should we expect you to perform to the standards that have already been set? You understand me, Trishler?
Yes, sir.
You understand me, Trishler?
Yes, sir.
Trishler, is it getting through your skull, Trishler? Trishler, do you understand everything I've said to you?
Yes, sir.
Trishler, right haste. Trishler, move out to your room and get ready for the parade. Move out. This is one of 3 parades that are held for you, for nobody but you. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Go out there. Yes, sir. Go out there and do it right.
Within 6 hours of entering, they're on their first parade, filled with pride and a sense of honor as they take their oath.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States and bear true allegiance to the national government.
Beautifully shined, cleaned, and pressed young commanders of the future. But first, they must be turned into soldiers.
War! Eagle! War! Eagle! War! Eagle!
Use your weapon to keep you away from the barbed wire. Use your weapon. Smith Dennis is getting her butt shot off.
Hands behind your head, right? You're not doing it right. There you go. Hands up. Move it, move it.
We are not men. We are beasts. Who wants to quit? Who wants to go home? Who wants to go home? Get off your knees. Get off your knees. Who wants to quit? I want to be an air assault, sir. We will always dress right. Dress right. Dress ready. Right. Never quit. Never quit. Never quit.
Never quit. Never quit. But you do not quit. Step out, Hollier. Do not quit. If you quit, the next time you'll quit again, and we have no place for that in the Army.
No, I'm giving it all I have.
Well, you better give a little more, Hollier. Let's go.
The only solace, the only refuge available to a plebe is the classroom. It's the one place where 4th-class hazing is off limits.
If the electrons are coming in here, the anode has to be made out of copper.
The Academy assumes its cadets can deal with subjects like physics and chemistry. It also assumes the cadets cannot deal with a knife and fork.
This is how you would eat. You'd
be one fist distance away from the back of your chair, one fist distance away from the table. You pick up your fork, starting from the outside utensil and working in. You will take small bites. Small bites are qualified as those bites that can be chewed 3 times or less and swallowed. Do you understand? Yes, sir. After you've taken your bite, you will set your fork upon your plate. Put your hands in your lap and then chew.
And you hold it left and right of your head. You say, sir, there are 6 in the servings and chef-style lasagna remaining on the table. Is that clear? Faye, set it down. Faye, what is your problem? You need to pay attention to detail. Is that clear?
Sir.
I'll go over the format for you one more time and one time only.
When you use your knife to eat your bread, or to whatever, to butter your bread, you break off a small piece of bread, such as this. You will take your knife, take a dab of butter, and butter it. You will set the knife upon your plate, outside of the fork. Put the bread into your mouth and chew.
You lift it to the right side of your head as such. You sound off with this format. Sir, the preferred beverage for this meal is grape juice. Would anyone not care for grape juice, sir? Try it, Lieutenant Faye.
Sir, the preferred beverage for this meal is grape juice. Would anyone not care for grape juice, sir?
Excellent, Lieutenant Faye.
Do you understand? Yes, sir.
Remembering that the preferred beverage for dinner is grape juice may be a small victory. But it is soon followed by the humiliation of breakfast.
If one of you is wrong, you're all wrong. If one of you is right and the rest of you are wrong, then the person that's right is wrong as well. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Eat. Let's go.
You take it away from you. Take it to your mouth and put it in.
Chin up, chin up, chin up. That's the way it'll stay.
Yes, sir.
You do not need to see your food. You stick the fork in it and you put it in your mouth.
Yes, sir.
Understand?
Yes, sir.
Now work.
We found this new class in their first few days at the academy. If they're lucky and tough, if they learn when to walk and when to talk and when to stand still, they will get to experience at the end of the school year what the class before them experienced. The rejoining of the human race, where you are finally given the honor of a first name.
Good, bad, Pete. All right, my name's Sal. Congratulations.
Carry on the traditions, man.
Good luck, Chief.
Take it easy. It's over!
They still face another 3 years before they come to this day of graduation and their first commission. 3 years that will be, by comparison, a piece of cake.
I woke up with this killer pressure from a sinus cold.
Sinus cold.
Pain.
Pressure.
Couldn't breathe.
Pain. Congestion. Pressure.
The pain was awful.
Congestion. Pressure.
I took new maximum strength Dristan. I'm here.
Discover new maximum strength Dristan. It combines 2 strong medicines to drain sinus cavities, unclog congestion, to relieve pressure and pain.
And it won't make you drowsy.
New maximum strength Dristan. Strong medicine for tough sinus colds.
If you thought you had to give up comfort to get a close shave, Norelco says, think again. Their revolutionary shaving system shaves skin close in a way that's incredibly comfortable. As the hair enters the chamber, the patented lift and cut system lifts each hair and holds it a split second before a blade cuts it, so it's possible to shave skin close without the blades even touching the skin. The lift and cut shaving system from Norelco. We made close comfortable.
The day may come when all refrigerators will make your food this easy to find. When all cooktops and ovens will let you clean up as easily as these. Someday, all dishwashers may run quietly enough to let you talk on the phone. The day may even come when every washer will handle all your fabrics with expert care. But isn't it nice to know that Whirlpool gives you all this today?
Introducing a completely different Mercury cooker.
soothing, pulse-quickening comfort. The all-new Cougar from Mercury, where comfort and control are one.
You had enough ho-ho-ho to last you till next Christmas? We'll try a little ho-ho-hum from you-know-who.
I have a hard time doing what I do here at Christmas time. Some people accept what they get, and some people complain. As you know, I complain. For one thing, I have the voice for it. The great hockey player Wayne Gretzky said a few months ago that if he goes to a restaurant and orders a steak rare and it comes well done, he eats it. Well, I don't eat it. I complain. I make sure the waiter knows I'm not happy about it, and I figure the waiter will let the chef know. I think of my complaint as a public service. It's not so much apt to happen next time to me or to anyone else. At Christmas, though, I'm more like Wayne Gretzky. I take what's given to me. I've had Christmas presents I like better than others, but I've never had a Christmas present I didn't like. I like the idea of Christmas and Christmas presents. Even if the present isn't what you want, it doesn't change the idea behind it. For the biggest part of the year, we're battling our friends and battling our enemies. We're competing with everyone in an effort to get ahead of them. Everything we do is for some reason we think makes sense. We think it'll be good for us. Then Christmas comes along. Seems ridiculous if you look at it. Pinning colored balls to a green tree and decking halls with boughs of holly as the song goes. Doesn't make a lot of sense. What does anyone from another planet think if they're watching us at Christmas? For this one wonderful day, we set aside our skepticism. We set aside our competitiveness. We set aside our ability to make logical decisions to get ourselves ahead in the world. And we just hang around all day and love each other. If the dressing's a little soggy, I eat it. Merry Christmas, if it isn't too late.
In the mail we got this week a lot of letters about our story 2 weeks ago on private security guards. One viewer wrote, "In all probability, the residents of Pacific Palisades take more care in selecting the maintenance people who tend their lawns than they do in selecting the people who look out for the safety of their children." Another viewer wrote, "If regulation of the security industry is woefully inadequate, regulation of the parenting industry, at least in that community, could also use some improvement." We also heard from a security guard who wrote us, "My integrity and competence is fully documented, and I resent being categorized with the misfit in that story." But far and away the most mail we got was about our story on the Florida judge known as Maximum Morphonius. And far and away most of that mail went like this: "Hooray for Maximum Morphonius. With a few more thousand like her, we could clean up this country." Also in that vein, a Canadian viewer wrote, "In the new era of free trade with Canada, how about you give us Judge Morphonius, and we give you our current liberal bleeding heart justice system?" But sprinkled in the mail were a handful of dissents like this one. "Never has one person so perfectly demonstrated the failings of our judicial system. Your cutesy coverage of her was repulsive. That fascist bully is not cute, she's a disgrace." And "How can Judge Morphonius sit there day after day dealing with the results of the proliferation of handguns and still be so gung-ho about the National Rifle Association?" But there was also this from a couple who noted that Judge Morphonius said that she would like to be remembered as a stand-up broad. "We'd like to stand up and salute that stand-up broad." I'm Mike Wallace. We'll be back next year with another edition of 60 Minutes.
How do you move 100,000 tons of furniture and bedding?
Easy.
It's Sears' biggest furniture sale. Great savings and a whole lot more. Only at Sears.